All right. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is James.
This is
Um,
Chip.
and we have a special guest tonight, kind of spur of the moment. Mr. Kevin McCurley, the evil morph god, fixing to sing us a little tune. Um, I think tonight there's a lot of stuff that's been said. There's some things that have been. Some people have been saying certain things and stuff like that. Kind of want to clear the air. Um, but once again, want to talk about community standards and whatnot. Um, talk about the things that, and this is kind of just my opinion on how or what I think that us as large constrictor keepers, especially reticulated pythons and whatnot, trying to make us better, trying to make us a better group, make us stronger, and stuff like that. And you've heard people have heard me say policing, and I really believe that we should truly police ourselves a lot stronger than what we ever have because of everybody who is watching us, and we just need to get better and be better, plain and simple. um that means calling out the nonsense, calling out the bullshit. If whether it's me, Chip, or anybody else, if we're doing something that is not right, that doesn't look good for the hobby and the community, um, you know, call it. Somebody needs to say something. Um, a lot of people I have seen where I don't want to say two face, but that's I guess two face. People say a lot of things around people because, like, say Kevin here, people will say things around this man because they want him to think one way. But when it comes right down to policing people, when it comes down to calling somebody out, trying to make us better and everything, people won't do that because one, they're scared, they don't have the balls to do it, or certain people are spending money with them and they don't want to lose a dollar, or they're scared to lose a dollar. And that's not what this shit is supposed to be about. We're about we're so close to losing everything, and it seems like people just really don't, I don't know, don't really give a shit. Um it's about the money, and that's all it is.
There
And I'm
are
gonna leave it at that right now.
there are
Kevin,
a couple things I'd like to interject. So I think when we hear like the term policing, it's like all of a sudden it's like this, like somebody just threw a wet blanket on us and it's a doggy downer. And like we can't like try to think that we're gonna just have this new set of ideals that we all have to take all the fun out of it. What's going on in today's day and age. You know, you watch what you're saying, police what you say, even how you're saying, even if your intent is not, someone else would interpret it as remotely, and it's just because you care with a word or whatever. That can then, really make people go nuts. But I think policing is maybe a really sounding thing. I think what it is I just think we need to be aware of our public viewership of how we portray
hey,
ourselves.
Kev, you're cutting out really bad.
Terrible. I don't know what to do.
You were perfect for a minute. Wherever your phone was, you were perfect there for a minute.
I haven't done anything. I'm not moving. It's probably they run down your internet connection. I have business Wi-Fi.
I know you got a lot of snakes to feed, but if you need me to pay your phone bill, I can do that.
God damn it.
My phone bill, I don't know what to say. You can't hear me well.
What was that?
You can't hear me well, huh?
Yeah, it is cutting out like big time. Like when you first started talking, we could hear you perfectly. Now it just started cutting out.
What happens if I get rid of my camera and dedicate more bandwidth to the mic?
I don't know. You can try it. That's fine.
Sounds like some 70s disco.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, but is it clear?
No.
No.
It's a little better, but
I don't know what to say because it sucks. I can't.
So what if you try and just get off of your Wi-Fi and just use your phone's data?
I don't know if it's going to be inside the building. So I'm not in a building. Now, mind you, I live streams and everything. And it's fine. I don't know what I'm wondering if part of it has to do with this service. You know, I've had so many problems doing like a podcast, you know, what we're doing right now.
Well,
go right.
Well, there's a couple ways that you can possibly fix it. It's either the building has got so much noise, everything's bouncing off of it because you got different electronics running. You've got other people in the building mooching off your Wi-Fi, or neighbors pirating it, or it's just that time of night where the signal's so bad everything's getting ate up. That's why we usually run just off of our phone's data.
I don't know. I'm right near my router, and I don't understand.
I don't either. When you guys make those live videos on Facebook all the time, you come in perfectly clear.
That's what I'm doing. That's so this is just my destined to do it today. I'm doing everything off the same network, same exact network. And I don't know what is going on.
Maybe it's because you're in a different part of the building.
No. I'm right near one of my routers.
Maybe you're too close to your router.
That's stupid. I was in a different place. I went over the area where I do my live streams and it didn't change. There's probably we're really hot right now. We're probably having a problem with like resources, but it's hot and humid and we're having a big heat wave. So maybe that's the problem.
You're talking to a guy that lives in a desert and a guy that lives in Texas.
It's humid here. You guys
I live in the armpit of Texas. It's humid as hell. It's horrible.
Okay. Well, guys, what do you want me to tell you? I can't fucking do anything. And bitch and complain. I don't have any ability right now to. I don't understand what could even be talking. But I got it. I'm looking.
Well, whenever you do your videos, you're always in your Retic corridor.
Okay, so that's like right above me where I am. I was just up near. It didn't matter. We're probably just having a problem. So your podcast is not destined to happen today.
Man, that sucks. Well, we need to schedule something when your phone's actually working then.
Buy him a new phone.
That.
I can do that. You want me to send you a new phone? I'll do that. You're my buddy.
God, that's fucking terrible. Let's go look at my network.
I know you can figure it out. If you can figure out how to make a Retic breed, you can figure out your phone.
Yeah, it's not the phone. It's just, I really, I don't know. I'm like literally right near one of my hubs. It says I have full strength.
It says you have full signal, huh?
I have full signal. So that means that the Wi-Fi is having problems, and I don't know my address for my goddamn Wi-Fi. Let's see.
If you unplug your router and plug it back in, will you screw up anything in your building?
No, not at all. It's I guess I can go a whole damn thing down. I guess I can go try that. The whole damn Wi-Fi. Woo. Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, right there we could.
Could you? All right, I'll try one more time. I'm going to restart my Wi-Fi, my whole router, my whole modem and everything.
Do it right
Okay.
now. Do it right now, and then we'll bring you back in.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye.
Holy shit.
All right. Well, while we deal with Kevin's technical difficulties, this little guy right here almost bit me in the face because I was laughing so hard. But yeah, James, why don't you go over what you were trying to go over, and then when Kevin pops in, he can continue.
Well, okay, so basically, Chip got some messages today about how he's wrong and how he shouldn't be, or how we shouldn't be calling people out, or how we shouldn't say this or that.
And how I'm a nobody, and I'm a nobody.
And the thing about it is that the whole thing about it is that, you know, I definitely don't, you know, this show is not it's not supposed to be about negativity and this and that, but from our very beginning, our very first videos and stuff like that, I have talked about how, especially with all the US Ark stuff that's going on and all the laws and everything, the reptile community in whole is a small group, and then us as a retic group, large constrictor groups, we're even smaller, and we have all this shit that's going on, and they're coming after us first, you know. And I have talked about how we should, as a group, should police ourselves. You know, we need to be, you know, kind of like the venomous keepers, you know. They police themselves extremely hard. And you know, they don't let just anybody in and stuff like that. And I almost feel like that's where, you know, this is my opinion, but, you know, a lot of people tend to agree. And I feel like this is where we need to be, is, you know, police each other. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, getting new people, teaching them and new people learning and stuff, but not everybody needs to be in our group, you know, this and that, you know, they almost need to, you know, prove themselves and everything. I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not, but anyhow, we're not trying to hurt feelings or anything like that. By no means, not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. But you know, it's just like if I'm keeping something wrong, if I'm doing something that can be used against our hobby, if I'm doing something that could be used for anything in a negative light in the media or anything like that, I should be called out. I should own up to it. I should either want to not do whatever that is, make it better and move forward, or I should be kicked out of the hobby. I should be kicked out. I shouldn't be allowed in groups, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And I strongly feel that way. You know, and hopefully Kevin's going to be able to get his technical difficulties fixed and everything and be able to get on here and add to it and talk and stuff like that. But several months ago, when we started pushing US Ark again really, really hard, you know, he's part of our Retic Nation admin group chat. And I was taking everything to heart and taking everything extremely serious about where we are and how they're coming for us, because they are, and how we need to police, you know, each other, and we need to, you know, just be better. And we all like agreed, you know, on these things and stuff like that. And then when people started doing stupid shit and everything, and if they were called out, oh yeah, ban them, get them out. So, you know, I would ban them because one, at the end of the day, I don't really care too much of what people think of me. It is what it is. Because nobody else is going to do it or wanted to do it. And then it would backlash because, you know, well, that person spent money with people. So, hey, let's let them back in, or whatever the case may be. And my whole thing about it is either going to be about what we're talking about, be about it and do it, or don't. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't be a pussy. You know, we have a lot of work to do, and we just need to be stronger and be better. That way we can all be better. And that's all it is. It's not that big a deal. You know, you would think that people that are dealing with reticulated pythons, Burmese pythons, rocks, you know, large constrictors in general, if being a little bit more hard ass about things is going to help us be stronger and make us better, and possibly allow us to, you know, make sure that, you know, we're allowed to keep our animals and whatnot, you would think you'd be all about that. But, you know, evidently to some people, you know, it's really not about the animals. It's about the money.
100%.
And I don't know if that's true. That's just how it comes across. That's my opinion. That's how it comes across. So like this whole video and getting, you know, Kevin coming on here, because we were actually Chip was gonna do, and we're still gonna do it tonight. We were just gonna record. He was gonna go in, do an in-depth video on me, you know, interview. That way, you know, some people can, you know, just, you know, where it all started with me, this and that, and blah blah blah, whatever. Not that anybody really cares, but that's what the fuck we were gonna do.
People need to know. But
then, you know, like I said, Chip got some messages about how, you know, that's not nice. You know, don't do this, don't do that, you know, and
well, it's not just that. The fact of the matter is I got a message from a person that doesn't even involve any of my videos and flat out said my injury was basically karma for calling people out in the industry. Basically putting all my bad mojo, because I had a severe injury that I could have died in because of what I said on videos about a certain individual. And that individual can't even come to me. He sends these people out. Then this individual that messages me names drops Kevin, not realizing that I talk to Kevin all the time. So I called up Kevin and I said, listen to this message that I got today from this random person. And he adamantly denied saying anything and told me to call this person out as a liar, and said, I'll be on the podcast and I want to talk about a few things in this industry and what's going on. So here we are. And that's why we're doing this, because I don't take things lightly and I don't back down from things. And if you're going to sit there and say, I got injured and all this bad stuff that happened to me is because of me calling out an individual that has a really terrible reputation and is doing things wrong and doesn't want to listen to advice and has caused many issues and thinks he knows everything. And I call him out point blank, and he sends one of his little friends to send me and Scott Hobson a very horrible message saying this stuff. Yeah, I'll call you out on video. Now I have Kevin, when you want to name drop somebody in the industry, to act like I'm going to be scared, not realizing that I talked to this person and work with this person. You know, here you go. Your little plan backfired. You shouldn't name drop people you don't know. Sorry.
Well, there you have it. But still, you know, at the end of the day, you have a lot of people who, you know, that I think it's just, you know, fake. You know, there's a bunch of fake people, and everybody knows that. I mean, there's fake people all over the place. It's not just in this industry. It's not just Retics. It's everywhere. You deal with fake people. You know, I don't smile a whole lot. Okay. And the reason why I say this is like, I don't know, people at work are always like, you know, you need to smile. You need to smile. And I always say, you know what? Instead of worrying about my smile, won't you worry about all these fake smiles? You know, because there's all these people that are smiling and they'll say the right things, or they try to say the right things in front of certain people to look a certain way. But in all reality, they're not about shit. And hey, Kevin's back.
Let's see if this work any better.
It sounds a little better.
I did everything. I changed everything. I restarted everything. I'm going upstairs now. Can you still hear me, at least?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hopefully it doesn't fuck up while you're walking upstairs.
Oh, I'm already up. I already did. About that.
Are you still using a damn BlackBerry? Or what are they called? Is that what he's still using?
No, it's a blueberry. Okay, can you hear me?
Sounds better.
Christ. Okay, maybe. Chip, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Don't move.
Just talk, Kevin. Just talk.
Okay. So I was basically, James, you were talking about policing, and I you know, we don't want to be a wet blanket because a lot of people that keep retics are very colorful, strong characters, and sometimes they'll be strong even when what they're thinking or what they're doing is wrong, in my opinion. And you know, I think we're rapidly losing, you know, like, you know, our freedoms in the United States is, you know, fuck them, we'll do what we want to do and all that kind of shit. And if we break that down to just like keeping large snakes, and we think like we're gonna do what we want and let them try to take my snakes away, that ideology and thought is stupid, because it's absolutely incorrect. I can't believe that we're down to this point, but we're in trouble as far as keepers, and it's not just reticulated python keepers. All right, can you guys hear me so far?
Yes, keep going. Don't stop.
Okay, so I think we have to be, you know, realistic, okay? And and the keepers, excuse me, in our community also have to be realistic. So just like, you know, we have a big brand new swimming pool and everybody's sharing the swimming pool, and we're down in the pool and there's kids in the pool and we know they're pissing in the pool. But when that one person's sitting on the side, just pissing and pissing, and then like you're telling everybody, don't worry about it, just jump in. There's going to be some people, I'm not going in there because they're pissing. But the reality is, there's tons of people pissing, but they're doing it quietly. But it's that one person that pisses that's going to ruin it, the idea of it. And we don't want that brazen example. Remember, we're keeping large predators essentially in some kind of box. In your case, Chip, you're keeping it in a TV stand. whatever the hell that is. So,
Right.
but we're keeping them, and to the average person, we look irresponsible. But I think a lot of people actually think we like to keep these animals because we're getting our yayas, watching these things, kill a mouse or kill a rat, and that is that is not why I keep snakes. If anything, it's the complete opposite, and that pains me, that part of it. But to somebody that's very simple-minded and somebody that wants to attack us to make us look sadistic, you could have 1%, 1% of big snake keepers that maybe do want to do these things, and they post inappropriate things on social media, and their message is, some poor unwitting animal's, cruelty and watching it die, and then people comment on that. But all of that stuff can become a glaring example of a big snake keeper that's all going to hurt us. So the other 99% of the people that are being responsible and like, look at these wonderful animals and showing it to kids and it's educational, all that can get lost by that one example. We all know that, right? I mean, it's pretty clear. But if we say policing, I think what it is we're just trying to be respectful of other keepers and the plight that we all face as a group of large constrictor keepers, that the like mindless and laxed awareness of what our landscape and what the environment is about when we do something stupid, and there are some people right now that are doing things that go on social media, and that attention and that video and that perception of these animals ultimately can hurt us. It might help their social media, or they're thoughtless about it and they're just doing stupid things because they're ignorant, but ultimately it's going to hurt all of us, and we're speeding our way. There cannot be a single person in our Retic nation and all the keepers that do not think poor examples of us keeping these animals and maybe subjecting animals to cruelty, anything that makes us look irresponsible, cruel, isn't going to affect all of us, because it is. Absolutely 100%. But we need to reach out to the there's people listening to what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, fuck that guy. I don't really, whatever. Okay, I need to figure out some way to actually appease you and actually get your 7 brain cells to collect all together at once and listen and find some idea of something, some thread of what I'm saying gives you pause, because we need to pause and we need to think that this is a very important time. We're in the twilight of big snake keeping, and it's happened so fast. I mean, it's going fast, guys. And I love big snakes. I love the idea of big snakes. I love when big snakes are sweet and we're working with their brains, and you're like, how is this big snake that really is powerful and is, and it really, has, an ability to essentially, do things to you, and it's not, and it's sweet, and it's trusting. And this is what we all love. Look at that thing. And people are like, how can that big giant snake that's, to a person who doesn't know any better, why isn't that snake trying to eat you? Because they don't think like that. They actually have brains. And we've created a relationship with these animals, and that's a magic. I don't think a lot of big snake keepers want to keep these big giant snakes and have a snake in that cage that wants to nail them. They want to have this, I want to be able to haul it out and slobber myself all over it and pet it and hold it and involve my family in that. And we want to do that. And that's the good part. That's the good part. Feeding that animal, and maybe the methodology of how people are doing that and then documenting that on social media, that's poor. you're not being thoughtful. Your insight to the detriment of our group in the hobby is poor. We have venomous snake keepers. Some people will keep a cobra or a rattlesnake, and they're like, every time they put a rodent in there, they're showing that, you know, rodent getting nailed, and then they're videotaping it dying. And I don't have any use for that. I really don't like it.
Nope.
You're not being respectful. You're not being respectful, because what you're doing is you're feeding people with sadistic ideals, and you're also getting people that are not animal people, not snake people, and you're getting, oh, that's cool. And those guys they're getting picked on in school, or they did, or whatever their problem is. And you're getting that's the wrong kind of attention. And then you have people that keep pet rats, keep gerbils, keep hamsters, keep bunnies, all this different stuff, and you're aggravating them. So you're creating a big pile of shit. And all we're trying to do is to be responsible, keep our animals, make sure our animals aren't getting out and terrorizing the neighborhood, making sure that, you know, we don't let them into the swamps of South Florida, because we know we lose the ability to keep those animals. And those animals are now, you know, in Florida, it has to be an act of God if you want to keep a reticulated python. You have to be, you know, something regarded as an educational facility, a zoo, something. And it's not even, you know, it's not even conditional permit anymore. You're just screwed. And that is only going to get worse. And, you know, hopefully, if anybody has got this far in our little horrific podcast with all the, you know, IT problems, they have to at least maybe consider what some of what I'm saying actually has merit. You know, live feeding is poor. Documenting on social media is poor. You know, over and over exaggerated cases of biting and all that kind of stuff is, you know, poor. I'm not saying bites don't happen and you don't necessarily talk about it and learn from it. And sometimes it can be funny and all that, but not making these animals look like these savage animals. Because, you know, when we go on Fox News, you know, the next door neighbor had this 18-foot snake. That is sensational. It sounds terrible.
That's what I told in my last video. In our last video, we talked about how, you know, everybody wants to claim they have this stuff, but how smart is it to go up to somebody that doesn't like a snake and say, I have a 20-foot python in my 1-bedroom apartment and I feed it rabbits.
And maybe to another retic keeper or some predatory animal keeper, that might sound okay. But to mom that has a family or just a suburban situation, that might sound alarming. And then if you go Google giant snake, you know, loose or something like that, and you show these people down in Florida that are lying, they're pretending they're catching Burmese pythons in sewers, and that only bolsters their argument. And this becomes the staple fodder for anti-pet, reptile, certainly on a state level, certainly on a city ordinance level, yet alone a federal level. And I deal with the laws and I deal with the mindset of these people. And I might be able to articulate a reasonable argument, and I can pretend to sound halfway intelligent, and I impress somebody with a responsible response to their worry, or I can educate them. But that is nothing compared to Charlie Dickbag that's doing some bad thing, and he's doing it on social media, and he's creating a holocaust at the expense of all big snake keepers, reptile keepers, lizard keepers, whatever. And he is miseducating because he's offering very easily accessible moments of sadness, sadism, inappropriate viewership of what goes on in the whole collective industry. I mean, when we're on Retic Nation and all of our Retic groups where we like to, enjoy showing the next crazy genetic combo and all the things that motivate us, and we're feeling down today, but maybe I get excited about something, or I show off my animal and somebody else gets excited. Those are all the back and forth, which are very nice. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about just, people think that we feed these things kittens and puppies and little rabbits and all this different stuff. And there is never a need to show a sweet little bunny rabbit and anything else. I mean, that's like, like industrial farming. Are we showing the horror, the horrific nature of the rendering of these animals? Like, okay, you're eating a chicken McNugget, and I don't want to see an endless pile of chickens hanging by their feet with the top part of their beak cut off, that are now 6 months old, that are genetically engineered. They live a horrible life, and now they're going to go be slaughtered and turned into that chicken nugget. I don't like that. It's a horrible way. But guess what? There's giant powers of lobbyists that protect the chicken industry, the dairy industry, the beef industry. We don't have one lobbyist. US Ark, we borrow a lobbyist. We borrow somebody with influence in Washington that happens to know people. That can be lost at any moment. We cannot afford a lobbyist. Lobbyists are paid so much money. I mean, in many ways, you would say that these are those kind of people that, like, how the hell are they making this kind of money for the little thing that they do? Well, they're connected. It's a good old boys club. It's it's people gather around the water bubbler. You do me this favor and I'll do you that favor, and then they intermingle with literally. I mean, let's face it. Probably 98% of all these politicians are dipshits. They're people I don't want to know. They're incredibly fallible. This isn't about democracy. This isn't about learning your subject and making laws when appropriate. This is about doing somebody's favor, some lonely guy who gets groomed by two semi-attractive women that are talking about cute puppies and dogs, and they will then give a poor guided example of why we shouldn't be able to keep these animals. They tell this politician that doesn't know shit, he's literally the IQ could be 87, but he's in a political position where he can introduce a bill, and then he gets his buddies to sign on to it and all this different shit. And before we look at it, it's another SB this, HB that, and it's a state law, and we just lost. And it's that simple. It's that simplistic. It's unbelievable. And sadly, a lot of Retic keepers are defiant. They want to argue. They want to, question. I mean, what could give you heartburn is the mindset of people like the Rodney Boweliches. People that don't tell the truth. They have conspiracy theories. They take something, and all their whole argument, the whole time they argue, is to take something and twist it and then leave something out, and they're piecemealing this whole thing, and they twist something into their contorted idea, and then they offer that as the whole thing. And it's disgusting. It's literally disgusting. And this is what happens to us, and this is how these laws are occurring. But we literally have people on the inside. Rodney Bowelich, he was allowed on Retic Nation lying and misinforming people and shit talking US Ark. Let's be very clear. My I once had a reasonable back and forth with Rodney Bowelich, and I tried to find the good in Rodney. He's not a dumb guy, but he constantly was criticizing US Ark way back from the very shitty and destructive times, even of Andrew Wyatt. But the intent of US Ark was always to have a voice for even the most common reptile keeper, and then have that voice have some effect as far as grooming or fighting back against laws, and basically have one place to bring us all together, have a common message, get behind US Ark, and then support them as needed. And then Rodney Bowelich, with all his conspiracy theories, then he's piping in misinformation because once again, he skews things, he twists things. And I went back and forth with him so many times, and eventually we went to war. And that is why Rodney Bowelich and I dislike each other. And I don't do well with people. If I love to argue, but if you're going to just lie and you're going to twist things, I can't argue with you because I might as well go argue with a pile of dirty socks in the corner, because nothing quality is going to come from those socks, nor does it come from Rodney. Rodney can just do his weird things and create his little stink of people that are miserable-minded people that need to find fault, that can't find common ground. I can literally reach across the aisle and find somebody that maybe I don't particularly like, or I don't find a lot of merit in them. But if we need to be on the same team, I'm going to try to find that and bring it together and work together, because this is bigger than me. This isn't about Kevin likes this person, Kevin doesn't like that person. I am offering myself to the reptile industry as a composite voice of intelligence, rational thought, realizing what is good that we do and what is bad that we do, and maybe groom some of that and try to get something so it's digestible, so we can present ourselves to the general public and to the state agencies, these fishing games, all these different things, where we can seem reasonable and then make the best of it. And so I cannot go heavy metal on these people, and if I'm going to try to get us all together. So this is bigger than what my personal opinion on in some cases. But Rodney Bowelich and the type like that, I've given up on, because I've worked on Rodney so many times, and when I thought I collected him and I got him to thinking, it might have lasted like 2 days, and then bing, he's gone again. So that's some of it. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about all that.
Go ahead, James, because you know what I'm going to say.
Well, okay. So what, Kevin, what I kind of already kind of know, but having you on here, how do you think we become better as a community? How do you think we become stronger?
We become better?
How do you think?
Well,
how can we?
Okay, so I will tell you without a fact, no matter what your position and what your awareness are, only one possible hope is US Ark. I'm involved with US Ark. I'm aware of things going on with US Ark, but there's always new things going on. But I will assure you, I will 100% invest and back US Ark in all points, because that is our only fight. It's our only weapon. And don't forget, I work with US Ark. So when we actually have to fight and we have to articulate our argument against, let's say, injurious, invasive, they do what they need to do, and they pull it together, and we collect ourselves, and it's our best way to fight. So I would never sacrifice big snakes. I will never sacrifice anything without a fight. I mean, someday we're gonna lose on certain things, but there is never a sacrifice. We're gonna sacrifice big snakes so we can keep ball pythons. It's never like that. because as long as I'm involved, it's about, I'm a hobbyist. And I think I align myself and I think like a hobbyist, whether it's a red-eyed tree frog, it's a bearded dragon, it's an African spurth-eyed tortoise, it's a savanna monitor, it's a reticulated python, it's a 23-foot reticulated python, it's a green anaconda. I like that people get to keep these animals. I believe in all those animals. I love all those animals. So if you can't believe in what I'm saying, then you can't believe in US Ark. But if you're talking negative about US Ark and you're not having a value for US Ark, you're really mistaken. And I will tell you, US Ark will improve. There are things that are going to happen, but it is a slow process. And I'd love to say we're in a landscape where we had a lot of time to like pull back and like, hey, let's work on fixing these little, ideas of US Ark. Right now, US Ark is like, oh my God, what's going on in North Carolina? Oh my God, what's going on in New York? Oh my God, what's going on in Illinois? Oh my God, what's going on in Florida? And there has to be a lawsuit. Now we have US Ark Florida, and there's a lawsuit now going against FWC, and FWC overreaching and the burden that they've placed by, now banning, tegus and making it so it's not even a conditional permit to keep a reticulated python, a Burmese python, an anaconda, an African rock python, amethystine python, all of these different animals. And it's I would say that it's wrong in so many different ways. And, it's like, let's say if we took the way I see it is real simple. I feel that these state agencies are prejudiced against the idea of who they think we are.
Oh,
They
100%.
think we're these bloodthirsty, irresponsible people that release our animals. Their idea of where those Burmese pythons came from in the first place in South Florida and all of that is actually inaccurate. The number of Burmese pythons in Florida is completely inaccurate. You have people that are catching these Burmese pythons using social media to miseducate the public, and they are essentially hyper focusing and creating hysteria about the boogeyman of South Florida. The boogeyman of South Florida is not Burmese pythons. It's not reptiles. The boogeyman of South Florida is development. It's about people. It's about the use of herbicides incorrectly. It's about polluting the waterways to kill weeds. And now you're killing all the life down in Florida. And that's a big, very, very involved thing. But I talk to, I deal with what's going on in Florida, and I'm involved in that. And we're trying to collect ourselves, but there's no game book on this. There's not like how to appropriate, response to an FWC action. We have to get everybody together, but if we're fighting amongst each other and we're distracting the energy that we need to accomplish a collective goal, there's a lot of wasted time. And if somebody says something and then somebody throws up, something on the nation and this is bullshit and we shouldn't have to do even, you're making noise. You really are. You're making noise. You're wasting attention. You're wasting energy. Calm yourself. Really, you might not even think the same way tomorrow, but stop being offended. Stop with your conspiracy theories. We all want to be on the same thing. We need to groom ourselves. We need to think about some best practices. No live feeding. No bites like happening in the face. Nothing that makes these animals overstates the dangerous nature of them. I mean, if I have a group where somebody's doing show pedigree quality Doberman pinchers or Rottweilers or Canary Island fighting dogs or Basset Hounds, are those people all showing people getting bit in the face, showing that little kid went near the dog dish and then dog bit him in the hand, bit him in the face, slit their lip open? They're not showing that because the cool thing about keeping dogs is not getting bit by them. Why is the cool thing about Retics feeding them a rat, a rabbit, getting bit, any of that? It's because it's what this macho idea. We're dark and edgy or whatever. I think at some point we need to quiet those waters. If we, I don't want state agencies to invade your house. What you do in your house, be responsible. Whatever. We don't need to necessarily show all of that if we want to still be able to keep those animals in our house, right?
Yeah. Well, here's something for you. Here's something that I want people to hear your honest answers about. I got a few questions for you. My opinion is already well known, but I want to hear your honest opinion, not about your business, but just you yourself. Do you think it is a wise idea for retic keepers in general, or even the beginning retic hobbyist, to start producing a bunch of animals just because they can and then selling them to whoever has money in their pocket?
Okay, so I'm a reticulated python breeder. I'm a hobbyist and an animal lover way before I'm a business owner. Yeah, I own New England Reptile, and we're known, I guess, in the industry for, maybe having some elegant animals and cool animals, maybe some expensive animals and all that. Okay, that's all like byproduct of the fact is that I love these animals, and I'm a keeper, and I since keeping, remember having 2 little Burmese pythons and just watching them grow and just being so enamored with them as a kid. And I am breeding less reticulated pythons than ever. I can make more reticulated pythons than ever right now, and I'm breeding less because we can easily overbreed them. We can make too many of them. And then if you make too many of them and you need to sell them, you have to drop the price so you can find an audience that can afford those animals, and an audience that desires those animals, an audience that is even going to try having them. We're always going to somehow sell an animal to somebody that's going to act irresponsible. But what is that criteria? I mean, can the person like write an email with like punctuation, like basic punctuation, can speak with maybe 2 syllables at least, or I don't really know. But there's none of that that's not going to graduate their level of responsibility and the level of care. I'm just kind of joking, being facetious. There are people that could be completely can't spell or even talk, and they could be wonderful snake keepers, and I do appreciate that.
Look at James.
How do you hold? I mean, Chip, let's face it. We got you. I think spelling is.
I'm a nobody. I'm an ignorant nobody. Remember that, Kevin.
Doesn't mean anything. That means jack shit to me. I don't care, and it really it has no validity to me at all. But I think when we're selling these animals, I mean, kind of gauge, why are they keeping it? I mean, I go back and forth a lot of times with people. When somebody buys an animal from us, we actually make them fill out like we do something called like a DocuSign. So it's a contract with them, and we make them. There's a certain level that they have to go of commitment, and they understand what our terms are and what we're guaranteeing, and what that they have to do due diligence, and they have to understand the basic husbandry of that animal. But we go through that, and that does qualify the level of some of these keepers. And, that has some value. But how can I, there's no standard we can do. You just have to be thoughtful. But I think it comes down to overproducing, just wanting to make 1 million of these animals, and there's not 1 million qualified keepers. There's maybe, thousands of keepers. And so
Maybe.
I'm literally selling some of my breeders right now, which would be great educational animals. They would be, for people to touch and hold and all these different things. But like, I have them and I'm not even breeding them anymore because I really I have to distance myself because I don't want to speed along to the end of retic or reptile keeping, of the facet of keeping these giant constrictors. I'm going to keep obviously a bunch of big retics, and some of my big retics I keep, and I guess I won't breed them, and some of them I will breed, and maybe I'll just breed what I think has an audience of people that want to buy them, keep them as pets. But if I make less of them, I'm maybe more inclined to be more aware of where these animals are going. But I'm fallible too, guys. I make mistakes every second of my life, and
like horrible Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and I don't know, but the idea of it is just trying to be responsible, and it's but can we? If we act, let's make sure we don't alienate people. The hardest thing is you want to have an audience that's listening to you. And if I were to be quick and alienate them, I'm going to constrict my audience and I'm not going to be able to get them back. So
no?
You want to, you want to have a soft approach, I guess. But when somebody does something really terrible and thoughtless, I can be incredibly caustic and aggressive and angry, and that's that's acceptable too when it's whatever. But for a long time I was on the Retic Nation, I was tolerating Rodney Bowelich, and I have friends that run the nation, and all I have to do is get pissed off and then gather them and start messaging them, and I can okay, Rodney, it's time for you to go, and I articulate my message to them. They'll hear my argument, they decide whether or not Kevin has a good argument, and then suddenly Rodney Bowelich is gone. But I tolerated Rodney for a long time. I'm not trying to be like, hey, I don't like this guy, so you guys need to get rid of this person because I don't like him. It wasn't like that. I might not like the dick, but I'm not trying to just a sweeping statement like it's all my ideas, because I have some good ideas and I probably have a few maybe unpolished ideas that might need a little bit of time to get them straight. So I'm just trying to say I don't try to speak for the whole idea of all Retic keepers, but I try to have an influence. And when it's time for me to speak as all Retic keepers, I'm going to speak when we're fighting laws, and I'm going to speak when I represent Retic keepers with US Ark. And when I'm talking to the inner circle of US Ark, I'm speaking on the best interest of big snake keepers, big reptile keepers, or reptile keepers in general. So is all this stuff digestible?
No, yeah, absolutely. You're hitting the nail on the head. This is why I asked you that question, and we're on the same page. That's why, with what we're doing, me and James are doing, a lot of people are viewing it as negative because.
Come on, Chip, get it right.
Oh, shut up.
Jesus Christ!
Says the guy with the guitar on his arms. Yeah. Anyway, we are doing this, and we're getting some negative feedback, but that's whatever. Some people don't like us, but all this stuff that's coming down the pipe on the big snake keepers right now, it's not affecting me. It probably would affect James, but I've got my educational permits. I've got all this other stuff that I do. I try and work with US Ark. I try and point out the scientific awesomeness of these animals and how we're able to keep them and all the beauty. It's not just about who has the most likes on Facebook. I don't show off my animals half the time. I don't really need to, but I want to get the word out about how we're losing our rights and how, we need to be more responsible. We don't need to buy a bunch of retics just so we can make a name for ourselves in a small Facebook group in the middle of nowhere. Because if your neighbor doesn't like snakes and all of a sudden you're out here proclaiming, I produce 100 retics and I'm awesome and I do all this, they're going to be scared to death and go to their township or whatever. And I don't want these animals in our town. This guy's saying he's got an 18-foot snake, and I see him killing rabbits out in his driveway because he feeds.
Oh, that's caustic. That is caustic, and that can be so hurtful to us. But everything you just said there is like, what are the negatives of acting responsible? Maybe a little bit more boring and maybe a little bit less of a following. I mean, attracting people that for maybe even the wrong reasons. But what are the negatives of acting responsible? Like, I can drive down the highway and I like to speed. I probably like to drive 85. And what are the negatives of driving 55? It's boring. And my car can drive a lot faster maybe or anything. But when I drive 55, or 65, I'm probably not getting as many speeding tickets. I'm not getting noticed by the police. I'm probably less likely to make a mistake and all that different stuff. But it's funner to drive 85. And I understand that completely, entirely. But so now I'm driving and I got a car load of babies. Not that I really give a shit about carloads of babies, but all of a sudden I'm a parent now and I have all my babies in the car, and suddenly I'm slowing down and I'm being more responsible because it's not about me anymore. It's about my family and it's about my babies. And I'd feel really bad if I crashed my car and I just killed my newborn son or whatever. So it makes you more thoughtful. Well, guess what? It's a carload of other keepers that may be acting responsible. And suddenly we start realizing the people that are driving 55 and 65 miles an hour cause less attention, cause less headache, maybe get less interest in making laws. But the guy that's driving 85, certainly the guy driving 100 miles an hour that's got the police chasing after him, he's going to get noticed and he's going to represent a lot of other people. I mean, I think that's a pretty good analogy.
That's perfect.
And I don't know. I guess if we have people that hear this podcast and they still disapprove of me or my mindset and they want to argue, well, I love to argue and you're going to lose because I can fucking argue like a motherfucker. And if you're going to argue with me, you better have a good foundation. You must have a really good way to collect what you're going to say. I'll listen to your argument. And if you get me and you have a better argument and with reason and merit, I will concede to you. I'm an intelligent person and I'm based in science. I'm based in reality, not emotion. And, I can be emotional, but if I'm acting on the betterment or the welfare of reptile keeping, I need to reel in my emotion and I need to be thoughtful in how I'm thinking. And so if anybody has a real problem wherever you guys play this and you think we're boring and all that different stuff, yeah, we're maybe a little bit boring and a little bit fun, but I'll tell you, I was all alone helping write all the argument for the US Ark injunction and writing what was going to go in the brief to the judge and educating the attorneys and spending countless hours working on it so it's something digestible. And that was really boring. I tell you, and I don't like doing that. it's because it's very scary, because now we're in a a public arena where a judge with one notion can totally change our future. And I don't like that. I really don't like it. I'm a, guys, I'm a gun owner. Okay. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA, and I don't carry my guns. I can, let's see, I'm right by my bed and I can show guns, right?
Oh, that's a cute flashlight.
Yeah, you like that, huh? It is actually works really good. But I do like to have the right. I don't kill things with it, but I have guns. I have a lot of guns. And
We all do here.
all right,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I just, you know what? It's just, I just like to have the right? I don't
Yep.
carry it, because it seems like nowadays, you carry a gun, you're suddenly, it's like a liability now. Oh, criminal threatening. He showed it. He did this, whatever. So maybe it's fine. My guns just stay there. And if I have an altercation, I'm just going to beat your face in with all, what I've learned, for my, martial arts stuff or whatever.
Yeah, you're
But
Kung Fu Panda.
it's nice to have that right. It's nice to have that right to have these reptiles and all that stuff. But the guy running around, waving his gun around and screaming and doing stupid things can be an embarrassment to the world of all responsible gun ownership. And it's the same thing. It's a very strong parallel.
It is, and that's why, like in these videos, I'm always very strong opinionated, and I get, James gets some flack from what I say, but just like today when I contacted you, that whole video was about someone being so irresponsible, threatening a politician, posting US Ark's name to it, doing all this other shit, and just acting like he's hot shit. And then months later, I get a message basically saying that, my injury that I had that I almost died 2 months ago with is because of my negativity, saying all this, and then name dropping you, saying you disapprove of us and our messages.
Well,
negative as fuck.
That's dribble. That is just, I'm not aware of any of this. And the name dropping is untrue. It's inaccurate. You don't know how to get a hold of me, which you did. And I was like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. And obviously we squashed that. But I guess publicly, if you're a big snake keeper, and then we're publicly defaming a politician, and there's plenty of politicians I do not like.
Yeah.
But I just try to quiet, because my personal opinion it's not going to be digestible for everybody. And it's probably better for me just to shut my mouth and find like a middle of the road, because there are people I'm going to offend with just my own thoughts. Like, I don't believe in God, and I'll offend people like that. And I can sit here and argue with you why I don't believe in it. But if you believe in it, and and it gives you all sorts of comfort and all that, well, that I'm fine with you doing that. That's great. No worries. I don't believe in religion and politics, though. I don't think that you should force, religion into politics, because there are people that are not Christians, or they're not believe in Christianity, but they could be, they could be Muslim, and all of a sudden they're alienated or whatever. It's not something I'm sensitive enough about, and I don't know enough about, and I don't believe in it, and I'm not going to side with one religious facet to, for something, a bigger picture. So I'm just, using that as an example. But it's so easy to offend somebody. If I was a devout Christian and I started preaching, my ideals, I'm going to offend atheists. I'm going to offend maybe Muslims. I'm going to offend Native Americans. I'm going to offend all these different people, and I'm going to easily lose my audience. And then
Yep.
I'm not going to have a bigger common ground to speak. So I just shut my fucking mouth. And I'm a lot of times my ideas are wrong about my personal thing. I'm always learning. What I thought, how we always think, like, I look back at some of the things that I thought about, let's say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and I'm like, oh God, I was wrong, or I changed my idea, or
Absolutely.
and it's because we're always improving, we're always learning. At least we like to think that that's the case. There's some people that are de-evolving, and there's ignorance and all that kind of stuff. And I'm very ignorant in many different ways, but I try to just, I got to find some common ground, especially in the world of keeping animals. My love for animals, I will find common ground with all sorts of people. And, if you have empathy for animals and you love them and you're keeping them for what I deem as, a good thing, then I'm on the same team as you.
100%.
And we have to find that. And it's,
these are living creatures that deserve the best and respect, and we need to educate more people, because I just had a great conversation at work. I work for John Deere, okay? I work around a lot of people that do not like snakes.
yes.
They do not. They are very Bible Belt, wrath of God type people that want to kill every little slithering thing. And I had a great conversation with a guy today that we were talking about how he was going hiking on the trails. And he was like, I was explaining to him about the prairie rattlesnakes. I have no problem going up to them. I'm not scared of them. They're scared of me. And he's like, well, a lot of these farmers kill them, but I was talking to a Native American. They seem to live right next to them, and they have no issues with them. So why are all these farmers having such issues with them? And we started getting into a discussion.
And you know why? Because Native Americans inherently have a magic to them, and a thoughtfulness and a give and take, and they're willing to. They don't have all this Americanized. We're society's quickly becoming like. We came from like a plastic bin or something, like some holy thing. Native Americans, the rightful owners of this land, came from a place where they're part of nature. For some reason, so many people are not part of nature. We're part of technology, and I don't like that. But yeah, how can a Native American who can see the snake as part of the landscape and as part of an inhabitant and a resident, and then they don't get bit, and they can do these amazing things, and then the farmer, rah, we get incensed and irritated. That's really, really sad.
It is. But, I reached out to that person, and we started conversating, and another person got into it, and we started changing minds little by little.
I do that all the time. I'm a rattlesnake guy. I do all my timber rattlesnake stuff. And, even turtles and people's version of turtles, and running them over, and why are they in my yard, and all this different crap.
Yeah, and that's us as keepers coming back to it. It's a very important thing to not look at these animals as a price tag, or just to keep them in a cage to show for Facebook likes, because that creates a chain effect with other people that are viewing this as like, oh, this guy's just keeping a giant snake in his basement. What if it gets out? We need to show that these are no different than our pet dogs that we let sit on the couch. We can interact with them. They have thoughts, they have feelings, they have needs. And we need to show that to the public, and not just that we're some macho person that can handle a big snake and beat our chest.
Agreed. And obviously we're kind of like variations repeating the same thing, but it's, we just need to have, we need to be a little more thoughtful. You're never going to be made to look bad if you have empathy for animals. And as reptile keepers and animal keepers, it's very critical that we have empathy for animals. We're thoughtful, and we want to educate other people to be better, educate people that don't know anything about these animals, about the wonder of these animals and the uniqueness of them and their special nature, and how these animals represent the animals of all these ecosystems that are all vanishing. And you literally use your pet reticulated python as the steward of a tropical rainforest, of a waterway, of anything like that, and you get people's interest, and you need to try to use your ability to educate people and expand our base. And we of course can just keep going on about this, but we don't want to lose our message.
James has got a couple messages and he wants to ask you some questions. I'll be right back so I don't talk over you guys.
Okay.
All right. Well, we have somebody watching. Kevin wants to know, or what you think. Is our hobby better off staying small and flying under the radar, or growing and getting more into the view of the mainstream?
Oh, mainstream easily. We don't do well small, because the laws are being enacted against us, and if we do not have a voice and we don't have togetherness and unity, we have no power, and therefore it's much easier for state agencies as well as federal agencies to shut us down. So no, this whole underground idea and quiet, that is not going to help us. The cat's out of the bag. So no, it has to come mainstream. The more keepers, I'm always trying to bring in more keepers, and I want to, involve the people that keep a pet leopard gecko, a bearded dragon. You'll see in all my live streams, I'm always talking about that. We have to keep a red-eyed tree frog. You keep a Pac-Man frog. You're keeping a bearded dragon, an African fat-tailed gecko. You're keeping a tarantula. You're keeping a scorpion. We're all on the same team, and we need to come together.
Definitely. Definitely. Holy shit. Really?
I wanted to be like Kevin.
Yeah. What is that? Oh yeah, it's a Dane. All right. Is that like that's a dime bag?
Yeah, it's a dime version. It's an actual American though. It's not some Chinese junk.
Yeah, I have guitars all over the place. I don't even know. Let's see. Yeah, I have stuff all over the place. But yeah, I have one of those right over there. But I'm playing this is a Goth Explorer, Gibson Explorer.
Oh.
So I'm leaning back against the wall. So this is.
I'm just happy your phone's still connected, and we can actually hear you.
Yeah, I had to shut everything. I don't know what kind of glitch it was, what was going on, but I shut everything down and redid it all.
Well, it worked.
This is horseshit. Now I gotta go buy a goddamn guitar.
You gotta learn how to play one first.
Shit. I got guns right next to me, but
anyway, what was the other question here?
No, that was the only one that I wanted to ask. I wanted Kevin had a question for Kevin. So
how about James? You got anything?
No, not really. I mean, everything that I was thinking, things that we talked about, I mean, Kevin pretty much touched on, so
good. Well, hopefully we can interest 3 other people in this podcast. But I haven't done a podcast for a while, and this is about as informal as hell. I'm gonna go eat my dinner, but it's hopefully you guys you got something out of this, and you guys are my friends, so there's no shit talking. I don't understand.
I'm just a nobody that deserved my injuries because I'm a bad person.
I don't know. That's mindless. That's a weak mindset for somebody to talk like that. That's just that's like lashing out.
And then Kevin McCurley has seen your videos and he disapproves of you and doesn't think what you're doing's right.
I don't know
what
they're talking about.
Hey, enjoy your dinner, sir.
All right, guys. Everybody.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, later.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was interesting.
It was. I can't see it, James.
You can't see me?
No.
Oh, I'm right here, bitch. You can't see me?
No. Did he go?
He went. He's gone. Now I can't see you. Holy shit. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming in. Once again, I want to thank everybody for the support. Please like the video, share the video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Leave a comment. We definitely need to get better at looking at comments and answering them. So that's something we're going to work on. And like in every video, please do whatever you can to support US Ark. Become a member. If you don't want to become a member, donate $1 if you can. If you happen to be at a show and you see a US Ark table, buy a t-shirt, buy a sticker, something, spread the word, get other people to become a member. Like we say in every video, like Kevin touched on, that's all we got. That's who we have fighting for us. Listening to him, kind of has me, rethinking, certain things. I still feel like whether policing is the wrong word, the wrong term to use, I still think that we need to do a better job in our community to help us be better and become stronger. But anywho, I think we're going to head out. Once again, thank you. Till next time.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.